what we want to talk about now is something called garbage collection that's built into Java that helps free up some memory. So every time we create a new object using the new keyword, like bank account X equal new bank account, or account holder Y equal new account holder, every time we do that, we are going to RAM and we are allocating space. Now, how do we reclaim this space that we've been allocating if we no longer need an object? So Java, the Java virtual machine, has a process that runs in the background and reclaims memory that have been released. So how do we release the memory in our code? Well, if we have an object and we no longer need it for any reason, we can just set the variable, the reference. When it says the reference, it means the variable, we set it to null. And when we set it to null, this tells the JVM, the Java virtual machine, that we no longer need this object. And so the garbage collector is a thread that runs in the background, and every once in a while it will run and it will check for objects that have no references to them, and it will reclaim them. So here, for example, we have two bank account objects that we've created. The first one we've created using the keyword new, so it's going to actually go to RAM and create an object. The second one, we just set it equal to the first one. So here, account 2 and account 1 are just pointing to the same address, the same memory location. So both account 1 and account 2 are pointing to the same object. And so later on in the code, we discover we're done with account 1. We don't need anything from it again. We can set it to null. So if we set account 1 to null, now the bank account object only has one reference to it. So it's not going to be garbage collected. But if we set account 2 now to null, now no address, no variable is referring to this bank account object in memory. And so now the garbage collector can run and free up this RAM space so that someone else can use it later. So the garbage collector will run and mark this space as unused so that someone else can use it. So for us, what does this mean? Well, number one, if you stop needing to use an object, you need to put null. You need to set it to null. The other thing is that there is a method called the Finalize method that you can write yourself, and this will run before your object gets destroyed. So when I set my bank account object to null, what is it that I want to do? And so I would put that in my Finalize method, and I'm going to show you an example in a minute. Now, if you really want to force the garbage collector to run yourself, you can just say system.gc. This will call the garbage collector. However, it is unsafe to do that, so I would not recommend doing that. So let's just go to our code that we wrote before and see an example of the Finalize method. So here, when someone sets bank account to null, what is it that I want to happen? So in my code, I have an account holder object. So what I can do in my Finalize method, so public void finalize, what I can do is just set my owner equal to null so that I free up the space for the owner also. So this is what we can do. If you have a list, like an array list of objects, you can set, you can do a clear on the array list, and then you can set the array list to null so that you set like the object. So any object that you have, you should set it to null in your Finalize method. Here in the slides, there is another example where we have a class called readFile. It has a reference to a file and a scanner. It has an open file, which creates the file and a scanner object. And before we exit, we just want to make sure that we close the file. So what we do is in the Finalize method, we just close our scanner to make sure that's closed. So this is another example of using the Finalize method. Okay. So now we are done with chapter 8. So this is the classwork for today's class. In addition, there's also a homework assignment, a programming assignment that you will find on Blackboard. This is worth 50 points. You can also do it on HackerRank and submit a screenshot of passing your test cases on HackerRank along with your code. Now, when we finish a chapter, all the classwork for the chapter and the homework is due 1 week after. So at the time of recording, I'm not sure when we're going to finish this chapter, but let's say we finished the chapter on Monday. That means all the classwork and the programming assignment would be due next week on Tuesday. Okay, so you always have 1 week to submit everything. Also remember that classwork assignments can be resubmitted. So if you submitted it and you didn't get the full grade for it, you can resubmit it up to the due date and get your grade up.